Thank you, Rutger. And before I would like to start, I also would like to thank Rutger, because today we got the official announcement that our paper of our hackathon project is submitted to MIT. We're going to be presenting this in Boston next week, Wednesday. And we wrote a paper about it. We took the more academical approach. And hopefully it's going to be a venture next week, but I'm very proud of it. And thank you, Rutger, for the opportunity. And this is what I wanted to mention. So today I'm here together with Alessandro. And Alessandro is our house lawyer, as I call him. Sometimes he's there, sometimes he's not there. And what is very important for us is the flexibility of Alessandro. We can call him whenever, we can use him whenever. He can provide us with research, and the collaboration between us is very important to help our projects go further, because we get stuck at certain times. And we will give a few examples of this. So yeah, and I'm Tobias. I'm one of the co-founders of the company, and I'm responsible for sales and strategy, and working also together with a couple of our customers. Alessandro?
Yeah, well, thank you, Tobias, for the kind words. Yeah, well, for me, I'm the owner. I'm legal. I'm legal is not as big as this building, but as big as myself. So that's it. But I approached Kryha actually myself a couple of years ago when I was just exploring the blockchain, and I just started as an individual legal consultant. And what I really loved about our relationship is that we always shared openly knowledge. So I shared my legal knowledge, they shared the tech knowledge, and then we found that the result of that was we were building solutions together. And this is what will also come up from this presentation as well. So then, well, yeah. We start because we have limited time. So.
I will tell a bit about our methodology and how Alessandro is like a crucial element to this methodology. Secondly, we're going to tell a bit more. Alessandro's going to tell a bit more about GDPR and blockchain. It's going to be probably repeated from the earlier presentations, but repetition helps you to remind stuff, so that's good. Then a few problems, a solution, and we're going to reenact a bit. So we're going to be a small theater act on how we work together if we struck these kind of problems, and then hopefully there are going to be questions afterwards. So first of all, this is our company. We are a group of 23, I think almost 24, young and enthusiastic experts, or not experts, but we have developers, we have strategy, we have business developers, and we also collaborate with other companies. But this is our core team, and I'm very proud of it. And we started 1.5 years ago, and also thanks to the hackathon, we got a lot of traction. And for example, these are the kind of companies that we work with. But it also brings legal questions, because all of these companies have questions with legal. So for us, it is very important to have somebody as Alessandro, because if we would go to a bigger corporation, they will ask us a lot of money. And I wouldn't say that Alessandro is working with us for free, but we couldn't get the flexibility with other customers. And it's nothing against bigger corporations, but it's about the way of working. Open yourself up, because we're still in the research phase. How can you ask too much money, maybe if you're doing some research, and if you just want to help something further? So it's a little bit also of a mind shift. And that got us a lot of results with our customers. And why? Now, it also has to do with our methodology. So we live by this methodology, we wake up with it, we pray for it, and this is how we work. So basically, it's both for our own venture. So if we would spin off an own venture, it will go through this process, or if we would work with our customers. Because we work with a multitude of customers, they have different questions, they work in a different industry, but this methodology can be applied in different industries and with different people. So we ideate, we learn, and we build. And this is our process to create stuff. And as part of this process, we bring things more from an abstractual level to concrete, from concept to working prototype to full implementation, and we don't do service work. So we don't maintain networks, but we build them. But as part of this process, we go into workshops with customers, sometimes to build a POC, but sometimes to come up with an idea. And we get stuck. And we get stuck at a certain time. So sometimes we get stuck at ideation. Because some smart person will say, yeah, but what about GDPR? Then we would say, yeah, what about GDPR? Alessandro, what about GDPR? And that's how we ideate. So we bring Alessandro in, and he ideates together with our customers. And we have a few examples of this. With KLM, we had a few of these conversations where, at the beginning, we involved Alessandro, and we could take the project to the next level. But not only there. So also during architecture design. Because sometimes you need to architect stuff according to regulation. And I think Arnold gave a very good example on how you can architect solutions to let them comply by regulation. And again, Alessandro will join the team, and he's crew support to the team. And then thirdly, during development. So we had a couple of times that we thought we architected it in the right way, and there were some very smart people asking questions. Yeah, but what about if I have two different systems and I can recognize the pattern of a person, we can still identify the person. So, and we will give an example of this. So how do you architect something while you're on development, and then how do you interact with your legal part? And that's why legal is such an important role within this cyclus of projects that we do. And that's what I wanted to share with you regarding our methodology. Alessandro.
Yeah. Well, the part of my experience with working with Kryha was always clients, big clients will come and say, well, I want to build something on blockchain, but I've heard that blockchain is not compliant with the GDPR. So they will ask you, is the blockchain GDPR compliant? And for me, that's where I get a little bit emotional when, it's the wrong question. There's no technology compliant to the GDPR. There are use cases which are compliant, with, like with other technology. So asking, the wrong question is also a wrong way to start building solutions. I can go to the next. So from this starting point, a lot of myths and misconceptions in the industry, and this is our duty, I think, to also just bust this with actual implementations of the technology itself, which are compliant. But these are the results. So you hear a lot of people saying the blockchain has to be. So they think that has to be the primary database to store data, to store personal data, which we've seen with our friend Arnold before. It's not actually true. I mean, you can use either off-chain solutions and private blockchains. Not all blockchains are public. Secondly, blockchain is by nature not compatible with GDPR. I mean, it's true that the GDPR was built without blockchain in mind, but let's look at why the GDPR is because it has been developed to fix a broken system, which is the internet. And the principles behind that, the GDPR is basically to protect the owner of the data. So instead of saying that the GDPR it's incompatible just because blockchain was not in their head of the regulator at the time, it's not a true statement. We can go to the next. And then again, the data on the blockchain cannot be anonymized. Well, we talked of different techniques to anonymize data. I think if you want to use a public blockchain, if you want one solution for it, it's just to be able to anonymize personal data and put it on the blockchain. This would be the only solution. And we know there are solutions, and the technical industry has to come with the solutions for the legal side to say, well, this can be compliant or not. So the lessons we've learned, this is a little bit of repetition from the previous presentation, but it's obvious. I mean, these are the main topics. We learn to understand the data, so to understand what kind of data you want to use, so that we can build solutions and figure out, okay, what kind of infrastructure you want to build, off-chain and on-chain solution, private, permissioned, and so on, blockchains. Secondly, I'm still on the first one, but Understanding the data subject's rights, and Arnold said it right. He said the GDPR should be seen as was made to protect the subject's rights, and this is why building protocols, especially, but also application that sees the subject, the rights of the subject as the main point from the right from the beginning, not as something to be fixed when the product is almost ready to be implemented, is fundamental for the success of a project. Just because also we have to understand that blockchain has to play a role in making the digital space a better place, better than what we've done before. Well, personally identifiable information cannot be stored on the blockchain, has been said, I think, 5 times already, and we understand why. When using off-chain solutions, which are the ones that we're using at the moment, off-chain and on-chain solutions, the linkability and reversibility risks are there, and this is mainly where we are focused the most when we are building applications for clients.
Yeah, and I think also for us, what's a lesson learned, we work with a multitude of industries and also with a multitude of models. So we work from B to B to C, but we also work from B to C, B to B. So for us to keep up with the pace of how we can design these things is very difficult. And every time we catch a case, it's different. It's completely different, and it requires a different sight and a different vision. And so that's also sometimes it's a bit difficult for us to move our projects forward. So let's give an example. So here we have 2 people. And these 2 people have booked a room or an apartment through a decentralized Airbnb. And they basically get access via biometrics. And biometrics is run in a separate system, but their identity is coupled to their public key. So basically you say you have your face, and you let 2 systems communicate with each other. So we have a biometric system, that's the camera, and we have the blockchain, where you store your identity, and that's connected to your biometric information. So it's a distributed application on top of a public network, so all the information is also public. And so we make a booking, and this booking creates a crypto asset. And this crypto asset is a token, and that token represents the booking within the system. And when this booking is made, it's shared with the biometric system, so we know that, for example, when X person shows up, then we can connect it via the public key to the information, and the door opens up. So people walk up, they scan their face, they will match it with the public key, and then the door opens up. And then, Alessandro, what do you think about this?
Well, it looks awesome, but the only part where I have a doubt is when, let's imagine a bad actor, someone standing in front of the door of this apartment hotel where this person is having access. What if this person just takes a picture of the guy, the user going in, and can connect that person, that face, to the public key, and basically that giving him access to a public blockchain? You can see everything. And it would also give him all the history of the bookings he had, where he was potentially, and the timing when he got in. So is there a solution to fix this? Yeah,
so basically as a summary, you say to me, I have a public identifier that I can connect to other events, and now I know who they are, where they are going, where they've been traveling, etc., right?
Yeah.
That's difficult. But what if I provide a solution that every time I make a new booking, I create a new public key pair? So every time there's a new public key, it cannot be connected to other events, and I don't build a history on the blockchain because every time it's a new event. Or another...
Add extra.
Add extra.
Add extra.
Add extra. Okay, one more then. So what if the crypto asset that I create, right? So during the booking, and I will program in the smart contract that the token will be burned only after 30 minutes that the event has happened. So that basically creates a delay in what is shown in a public blockchain and what's being recorded by a certain person that's outside of the system. So does that add any value? Because then you can't really match?
No objections, I think.
So that's a good solution.
Here, we're not good actors, so I think you didn't really get it. Here the problem was that if you can link the physical world to actually what's happening on the blockchain, that's where the linkability issue comes. So, and the linkability means that this piece of information is in blockchain is going to stay there. It's can potentially be referred to a person. So making that information identifiable. By adding a new public key for each time you make a booking, we ensure that if there's a bad actor, yes, you can see that the person entered at the time, but he cannot see the history of him going in. And because he has basically multiple identities, he cannot link it back to him. Why we added the extra layer of protection of the burning and making this delay basically on the transaction crypto asset is because if the bad actor just sees that once that person entered, you can still know that event happened and is recorded forever on the blockchain. So by adding that delay, we make sure that also that event basically becomes anonymous. You can argue this later on if you want to, but we believe it's a pretty strong solution to the problem.
So this is one example of a case where we had also consumers involved in our project, and we also have multiple examples where we work with machines, and that's also the project that's going to MIT, so basically giving identities to machines and making sure that they can be discovered, either in a public or in a private network, and then we will come to very, very much different solutions or different topics or different problems to tackle. And therefore what's interesting is basically this is how we work, where Alessandro comes in with his laptop and you will ask, so what the project that you're doing? What industry are you in? Okay, let me search the law. And this is like a true story where basically he was reading up every single article that was in the book because we were literally like lost in what kind of solution we wanted to think of. And then we had our developer, Alex Walid, and he was sitting right next to Alessandro, and he was listening and said like, wait a minute, this is actually fun because now I can think about solutions, I can make workarounds because I can immediately know what he is saying, I can turn it into code, and I can create some sort of workaround that fits with the regulation. So the importance here is that the solutions are created when the two worlds come together. And of course, we also create solutions without Alessandro, but if there's a solution where this comes in, you need to combine the both worlds together and understand each other. And also, as a developer, read the law book every now and then. Read the books just. And just take some time, read the articles, and you will definitely come up with a different solution or with a different opportunity. And the same goes for Alessandro. Alessandro will dive into code, and he will ask, what did you do there? Why did you do that? Where is your data? Where did you store your data? How did you do it? And having this relationship is very important, we believe. And we have taken, due to this, we have taken projects from POCs to MVPs and are now going into more lively-like style projects. And I believe that this wasn't possible if we hadn't this relationship. So for people here in the audience that are stuck with the project, find somebody who can help you on the legal side of things. Because I will definitely bet they will going to help you to get you further. That you need to rewrite your code, most definitely, but that's the problem that you didn't involve somebody early enough. Takeaways.
Yeah, I'm just going to add 1 second. The fact that it doesn't just work myself sharing knowledge with the tech, but also the tech sharing knowledge with me. And this has been quite important for myself as well, to understand how far technology can go. And at this point, I kind of have the feeling that technology can go pretty far, apart from the blockchain immutability part, which, well, we have to accept that is actually an advantage of the technology. So don't see the GDPR as an enemy, but rather as an opportunity. This is really important. I would not even say, well, it's an opportunity because GDPR has been said before. can actually give control back to users. If you read the recital 7 of the GDPR says, give back control to users. So blockchain can give us that. But it's also not just an opportunity to make business, but it's a manual. You should see it as a quite strong manual that will give you the possibility to build products that respect users, respect the owner of the data. Well, effectively use off-chain, on-chain solutions, because as we saw, it's actually the best way to protect at this stage the data owners. Next, privacy by design, which means it's not that complex. It's just putting the data subject in your mind, in your project right from the beginning, and protecting them right from the beginning if you see that there will be personal data in your data flow of your product. And then, yeah, stop reading the internet, read the law. It's, well, I printed out a GDPR, the GDPR regulation, and I was planning to give it away to someone that never read. But if you can come back to me later on if you never read the GDPR, and I will give it to you, and you will learn a lot. But the point is make your own assumptions and really try to understand the principles behind why this law was made, because this will bring you to really build the solutions, rather than stopping on a title, which I do sometimes as well, on a title of an article, and then we'll be like, okay, well, I'm not going to dig into blockchain anymore. Yeah, this is my take.
And one important thing for us is that as Kryha, we're a neutral company. So we want to reach the best for our customers. And it also means that we need to know about what's going on in the industry. So what's going on in the industry, we have a lot of protocols. And a lot of protocols either derived from Ethereum or they're building on top of Ethereum. And there are also certain protocols that focus on certain specifics, such as Oasis. So Oasis is a protocol that we also partner with. We were one of the first to test and to port Solidity code on top of the network to see how it was working and how it was acting. And what Oasis is doing, it's building a privacy-first cloud computing platform. You can see it in healthcare, where you need to do joint calculations and bring that into their network. And therefore, we as a company are willing to work with these protocols. Because what are they missing? They're missing a client pool where they can test their stuff. And it's very simple. You can basically take a use case, build on the top of the network, and let them learn. Because they have as much questions as the corporates do. So we act as a neutral party between protocols and companies, and we keep ourselves up to knowledge. And one of these is Oasis, but for example, in Berlin, we have a company called GDPR, and they're building a distributed access control system. And you can use it for biometrics, you can use it for cars, and we're also working together with them on these kind of solutions. Because our belief is that protocols should stay focused on what they're building in a protocol, make it work, and not provide consultancy service besides it, because they will lose focus on what they're really trying to do. So we help them, and we bring them together. And that's what we do as a company. And one specific thing that I wanted to mention here is there's a lot of coverage on SGX, so secure enclaves, where you can have secure computing. And one of the vision parts of Oasis, and the creator of Oasis, Don Songs, he's a professor at UC Berkeley, is to open source the secure enclave development. And why? Because secure enclaves are something that need to be broken. So if a private company provides it and they don't open source the code, how do you know it's safe? So she believes, she started a whole working group with a couple of very large organizations to open up the development of secure enclaves. So to make sure that we truly believe that if you use a certain secure computation environment, that it has been broken or it is safe and it hasn't been broken for a certain time. And that's the last thing that I wanted to add. And if you have any questions or you just wanted to reach out to us, there's my phone number and my email. Thank you.
Wow.